Welcome everyone to our webinar for today. Allow me to introduce our host, our special guest, I beg your pardon, Marjorie Rosenberg, who has been a teacher of English as a foreign language in the adult sector since 1981 in Graz, Australia. She has worked, Austria, I beg your pardon. She has worked in a number of companies. Ms. Marjorie has taught at university and carried out teaching training sessions throughout Austria, Europe, and the United States. Ms. Marjorie is also an active conference presenter, and she has given plenaries at over 30 conferences worldwide. Ms. Marjorie is active in the field of publishing. She has written several methodology books on learner preferences and course books, as well as books with photocopiable activities in the field of business English. Ms. Marjorie is the current Joint Coordinator of IATEFL BESIG and served as IATEFL President from 2025 to 2027. Our webinar topic for today is Getting Unstuck, Stretching Out of Our Comfort Zones. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present and allow the humble floor to Ms. Marjorie Rosenberg. Ms. Marjorie, up to you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here. So this is a plenary. It's one that I was asked to do a long time ago. I hope this sounds okay. Does it sound okay?
No. Sure.
It's not.
It's okay.
Okay. I had done it and went back to look at it again and found how people who had contributed to ideas had themselves made many changes, which was very interesting. It's kind of a living talk, we could say. So let's have a look. Oh, why is it not moving? All right. There we go. So many of us are in our own little worlds, especially if you're in the adult education field. I would go to work, I would see my students, and then I would go home. I never saw colleagues because we had no staff room. If you're in school, there's more chance that you see colleagues, but many of us freelance teachers, even at universities, there's simply no place to meet anyone else. And it's very easy then to get stuck. So knowing something about you, if you want to write in the chat, I don't see the chat on my screen, but someone can tell me. So how long have you been teaching? These are the options. Oops. If you can put these in the chat. And if someone can just tell me what's showing up, because I don't see it. So what are most people? Is it mostly 1 to 5 or 6 to 15, 16 to 30? Anyone 31 plus? I don't hear anything.
I think majority are between the gap of 6 to 15.
6 to 15. Okay. So I'm probably one of the few with 31 plus. It's now 44 years. Okay. And how often do you get to actually do something new? People can put on their microphones if they want, or write it in a chat. So what's showing up?
Sorry, Ms. Marjorie, do you want it an interactive session this time? Can people unmute to respond to you?
Unmute to say this, that's fine. It's just one sentence.
You mean in our teaching, right? Doing something.
In teaching, yeah.
Okay.
Basically in teaching, yes. Although this will cover other things. Any comments?
Yeah, we do. We have every day, twice a week, every day or once a week.
Wonderful. That's great. Fantastic. Okay, good to know. Okay, now, this is the question. How many people feel stuck? This photo is of mud, and these people are actually stuck in it. Do people feel that they are stuck? And this can all just go in the chat. And if anyone has a specific idea of how to get out of it, or you can unmute, whatever you prefer. Any comments coming up?
Yeah, we do. We have, as a teacher here, she says that she often feels stuck as well. And we have, yes, I feel stuck, but I don't know how to, I think, get out of it.
Get out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we'll have a look at that. We're going to go on then. So what keeps us from trying out new ideas? I crowdsourced this in social media, and these were things that people said. People are afraid. They don't feel they have time. This picture represents the brick wall that we feel we run into when we just don't know what to do. Sometimes it's opportunity or interest. Money is a major issue, or just the motivation. If you're tired out, busy, we don't have energy, or we feel overwhelmed, or we don't get the support we need, or we don't know where to start. So I'm assuming that people agree with some of these answers. So let's have a look. This is the way we defined a teacher. This was also through crowdsourcing. And for the most part, people really live their jobs. There are many jobs that people just do because it's a job. But when we're teachers, it's kind of our whole life. We like to be around people. We are good at listening to people. We want people to learn. We also want to learn ourselves, and we try things out. And we certainly have challenges every day, every week, every month, every year. I don't think they stop. We also have empathy for students. We like new things, and we coach students and colleagues through various things. Okay. I can make the slides available as a PDF. Then I can just mail them to you, Sarah, and they don't have to be downloaded. It'll be easier.
Sure.
So, see if this sounds familiar to anyone. And if you have comments, put it in the chat or call it out.
It certainly does. Quite a lot of responsibility.
I taught elementary school in the U.S. for 2 years, and so many of these were true. So many. Yeah. Okay. So what can we do? Well, there are different ways of getting there. We can get unstuck on a superhighway if we're really lucky. I mean, Sarah, you're in another country and you're working on a doctorate. That's kind of a superhighway in a way. Or it might be a country road where you're going a little slower, coming to an overpass. Or it could be that there are things in your way that you simply have to wait until they are gone. We've had this driving in Greece where we just have to wait for the goats or whatever it is that's in the road to move. And this happens to us in our careers as well. And sometimes, this is also a true photo, there's more than one way to get to the same place. And it doesn't matter which road we take. So what we're going to look at in this talk tonight, we're going to look at new methods, subjects, technology, CPD, so continual professional development, colleagues, PLN, which is a personal learning network, new areas of ELT, and then something I call stretching beyond. These are the areas we'll cover. But before we do that, I want to give you an idea of where I sourced information from colleagues. And the first time I did it, I had a different list. It's changed. It keeps getting, it grows. People contact me. They want to be part of this. So just this one, you can see Jersey, Spain, Japan, Algeria, Greece, UK, Brazil, Serbia, and another one in Spain. And then we have Italy, another Japan, USA, Poland, and so on, all the way to Honduras, Russia, and Uruguay. And then here we have even more people. So I asked lots and lots of people for ideas. Okay, looking at new methods. This was a photo a colleague took about a dice game that they played in, I think it was actually Ukraine when she was there. Samira in Algeria uses web comics and uses this for adults, which is a great idea. And as I said, you will get the PDFs. So if you think, oh, I love that idea, you can wait and look at this again and write them down and try them out. Visual thinking strategies from Sharon, and working on critical thinking and transcultural competence. Or Mark, positive psychology. This is a very big field these days. And what I heard recently, I was at a lecture this week at the university, that curiosity moves us to our growth zone. That's what makes us grow, is when we're curious. So, and it's positive psychology. TPR. Christina uses this with adults. I make adults get up and move if they're tired. There's no point in teaching them when they are falling asleep. So I make them get up and actually move around. So some ideas. Cooperative learning is a structured way of having learners become interdependent on each other. So for example, you can put them together in a group and each person has part of a story. No one has the whole thing, but in order to have the whole story, each person has to read their part to the others, and then the group can put it together. And then each person in the group is important. So cooperative learning, that's just one example. Things that they must work together to do, not just group work where some work and some don't. In cooperative learning, each person has a role and must play it. Project work, I'm sure you know, music, art, drama, and learner diaries. These are becoming more and more common. So does anyone here use learner diaries or music, art, drama? If you put it in the chat, somebody can tell me. Anybody commenting? See anything, Sarah?
No, I guess we don't have anyone.
No one's using these. Okay, well, then it's a great way to start. I mean, I would assume that music and art and drama would be very culturally based.
And we have someone who uses drama.
Okay, great, wonderful. Yeah, I actually heard from a colleague this week at this lecture. She had a problem with two students in a class when she was teaching school, and her headmaster made her offer a drama class for the difficult students. And it brought them together in a way that she said nothing else would have done it. They wrote a play making different people, different teachers in the school, the characters, and then they acted it out. And it brought these kids, these difficult kids together, and in a way that she would never have imagined it would work. So it was a great idea. Okay, new subjects. This is here because I was teaching a group of students who were learning about nutrition and service and hotel management and restaurants, and we cooked a Thanksgiving meal together in English. So we went into the kitchen and I learned from them as much as they learned from me because they were the experts on cooking and I was the expert with the language. So new subjects can be very interesting. And Sue, Jersey, that's off the coast of the UK, She said she gets new classes all the time and works with all kinds of people. What I love is her comment. I try to get info about their needs. I negotiate content. And if you look interested, it usually turns out okay. And I think that's a great way to say it. If we are interested in what they are doing, it helps them and it motivates them. Okay, Andy said he had to take on a discussion course and made it into critical thinking and then wrote a book. He's incredibly active. He seems to be producing things on a daily basis. But why not? Good idea. Some ideas. You could teach something using CLIL. This is Content Language Integrated Learning. So you could teach, for example, history in English. You're teaching content, but doing it in English. And ESP is when we do it at a university or adult level. So I teach bankers and I teach some financial English, and that's ESP, English for specific purposes. Business English is part of ESP. You can expand into another area where you're an expert. So if there's something you're really, really good at doing, cooking, sewing, acting, singing, you could teach that in English. Invite someone else into your class. I used to invite visitors to companies to come, engineers or other people visiting companies in Graz. They came in and they would talk to my classes. I'd make the students guess why they were there, why they were in our city, and then they would talk a little bit and people could ask them questions. Or find articles is another possibility. Okay. Technology. I have to admit, I don't have much here on AI because I don't use it very much, but of course it's there. And as we see, Vasiliki in Greece said she uses ChatGPT. And I like the idea, taking a novel, a book, and having them create alternative endings through the ChatGPT, but then talking about it to say, this seems more likely. This does not seem likely. So analyzing what ChatGPT has written, I think it's a brilliant idea. I've done it with biographies of adults where they have to put their name into ChatGPT and get a text. And then they bring it to class and they exchange with someone else and they say, I didn't know that about you. Or is this true? Because ChatGPT just makes up things and it gets them talking. Sergio uses all kinds of things. Software, a lot of publishers do provide software if you can get into it. We're having issues at the moment getting into the software in Austria. Okay. Nada in Serbia liked the idea of digital storytelling, and she uses something called Flip Tool. I don't know this because I can't use technology where I teach. The bank, it's all protected. Only my students can use the technology. So I don't even bring a computer. But this is letting students create stories. So when you get the slides, you might look through these and think, I can try that out. I can try that out. You'll have lots of things to look at. So there's an idea. Again, Gracia Maria in Honduras has been working again with ChatGPT, helping them with critical thinking, analyzing structures, getting them to reflect on the difference between ChatGPT and the way they write. So breaking it down into the smallest bits. Very helpful. Okay, so some ideas. If you can use learning platforms, I had to use Moodle at university. It took me a while, but I got used to it. Finding appropriate videos, I'm going to give you some hints. Mobile phones for interaction. An activity that I saw here was students had to find a photo on their phone, not of a person, of a place. And then they had to show it to the others, and the others had to say, why were you there? What did you do there? How long did you stay? What did you like? So they practiced past tense by using a photo on their phones. And because it was personal, they were much more interested. If I give them a photo, they're bored. But if it's their photo, they really want to talk about it. So it brings in the emotional part. You can branch out with online courses if you can. Talking about the technology around us. I'm sure everyone has some amount of technology, and even just a USB stick, what is it? I mean, when I think our first computer didn't have half the memory that this tiny stick now has. Yeah. Or finding ways to incorporate ChatGPT, as you saw from the others. Okay. CPD. This is from a conference, obviously, which is interesting. I don't know where it was, not sure. But going to conferences and taking part in webinars is part of your continual professional development. So Sue said she started with general English, went into ESP, English for Specific Purposes, did a CERT IBET, which is teaching business English, teacher training, and then a DIP TESOL. These things are all out there. Teresa was just an English teacher when I met her in Brazil. She got very interested in working with disabled and kids with learning difficulties. And then she went back, because she was a freelance adult educator, went back to actually do her teaching certificate so that she could teach in a school, which is interesting. Okay. Sandy is incredibly active. If you are at all involved in IATEFL, you probably come across Sandy's blog. She was with International House. She has now gone freelance and started running her own Cambridge Delta Module 1 courses to help people take the Cambridge Delta, which is fascinating. And it got her to really think about what kind of methodology she needed to learn about. Okay. Dana said she took part in a neuroscience program, applied to teaching, and then did a postgraduate program on cultural transformation. The first time I asked her about this, when I did the plenary the first time, she was just starting a coaching session or learning about how to be a coach. And now she's already past that. She's into the postgraduate part. I'm going to be starting a course on neuro-language coaching, hopefully January or February, as soon as the next one is there when I'm actually able to take part. Sylvia had just started her MA when I did the plenary the first time. Now she's finished it, and she's now actually teaching at university. Okay, and Hannah said her real PD started after she finished the master's. So that's when she started blogging, tweeting, reading blogs, lots of stuff. And all these people, some I've met in person, and most of them I simply know from social media. So this is how we get the word out. I don't know how Sarah found me. I'm guessing it was social media, most likely. Yeah, right. And that's the way what we do. Okay, so some ideas. Go to conferences if you can. Attend webinars and web conferences. IATEFL does a load of web conferences, many of which are free. Some you have to pay a little if you're not a member. Others, if you are a member, they are then free. Training sessions with colleagues. Get together with a group and have one person do a training for you. Or swap shops. What do you do? When I finally was able to meet colleagues, we exchanged ideas, one of which I still used, I think 30 years later. It was one of my favorite activities. Someone just said, I have this great piece of paper. I did it like this, and it was so wonderful that I've done it over and over. Plan a course with a colleague. I also did this for years. I did teacher training with a colleague here in Austria in German. And we would get together and write the materials and talk about it and decide how to do it. It's an incredible learning experience. Or go back to university, like Martin here. Okay, our colleagues. I don't know who that is. Sergio travels the globe. I know he's been in Nepal. He's from Spain, but he always seems to be in a different country. And he socializes with colleagues. He likes to spend time with them. And Rob Howard, I don't know if any of you have seen the EFL talks. They are free. He runs them. He started it to support teachers who couldn't get to conferences. And he would have a topic. I was in several of them. One might have been on different learner types. There was one just for women. He would run them on different things. Each person had 10 minutes to talk. And he'd have 10, 20 people and run these. So the links will all be at the end. Eve, have you had the mentoring program? Sarah, do you know about this?
I'm not sure I do.
Okay. Eve is Equal Voices in ELT. Sue Leather is one of the people running it. I took part twice. The first time I did it, I was mentoring a teacher on the Ivory Coast. We were working with, is it ANELTA Africa or IATEFL? It was one of the bigger groups in Africa. And we had people from different parts of Africa. And the goal was to work with classroom teachers who wanted to give talks at conferences. So I mentored somebody from Ivory Coast. The next time I did it, I mentored a teacher from North Macedonia, from Skopje. And they just announced a new one. I think they've done this now 8, 9 times. And they always run programs. They partner with teacher associations. I can send them the name of your association. I can send it to Sue so that she has it. And they match Eve mentors normally, well, to female teachers. It's for women, and it's giving back to the ELT community. So it's an absolutely great, really super program. Okay, so some ideas. Ask colleagues what they do that works. I'm sure there are people that find things that they really enjoy. Or if you can, observe someone's class. That's fascinating. Going in and watching, exchanging ideas, as I mentioned, and find out what teachers teaching other subjects do. What does the math teacher do? What does the history teacher do? What do they do differently than we do as language teachers? So a way to learn. Okay, our personal learning network. This was put together by Rosalie Sara in Brazil years ago. And I said, that's my PLN. I look at it and I recognize Dimitris from Greece, Emma from Israel, Vicky, who's Greek but lives in Switzerland. Looking to see who else. Yeah, a number of people that I have met, have worked with, or only know from online. And this is what we consider a PLN, our personal learning network. So Sandy, who has got a huge one, we always try to get a photo at IATEFL. She says, build your network. So when she was thinking about leaving one of the international houses she was working at, she was active online. She had things set up before she moved to the next place. She knows so many people. She blogs. And yeah, as she said, she learns from conversations. And it's very true. She says, I wouldn't be the teacher or the person I am today without my network. And I feel exactly the same way. Exactly. Okay. Sergio, again, social networks. Tanya in Canada says she loves going to conferences. I try to do that as well. I like to start the hearts. Okay. So ideas. Join online groups of teachers. These were 2 PLNs. One was the IATEFL BESIG committee in Budapest. This must have been about at least 10 years ago. And then our PLN at IATEFL, I think it was the first time I got to actually meet them in person. We had been in contact on social media, writing to each other messages and posts. And then there we were together in person where we could actually give each other a hug. It was incredible. So this was, I think that was, Birmingham. So it was 8, 9 years ago. It was fantastic. Staying in touch with people. We just had an IATEFL BESIG conference, so Business English in Athens, and the number of posts that are still going on both Facebook and LinkedIn are incredible. And people saying, I'm so glad I was there, and I got to meet this person, and I got to talk to this person, and I've only seen this person online, and now I know them, and this is our PLN. and they give us strength. They absolutely do. A comment that was made in the lecture I went to was, well-being is collective. We as a community contribute to well-being of each other. Okay, a new area of ELT. This I love because the sign, when I do this in some groups, they look at it and go, oh, the translation is terrible. Yes, it is. We do not say, don't throw hygienic packs into the lavatory pan. They're talking about the toilet here. And this got me a job. I went into the tourist office in Graz, and I said, the brochure you have has some really bad translations. And they said, oh, well, we need a new translator. Do you want to do the job? And I got a job. So sometimes we find a job simply by approaching someone. You never know. And in the meantime, I've done the English announcements on the train, all from saying this was not correct. So here's Sylvia. Like I said, she had started off when I first met her. She was just starting her master's, and now she's a professor in Montevideo, academic coordinator, tutor, and head of the English department. And this was just a few years later. Elena, who I met years ago in Germany at a conference, doing a master's degree in counseling and wants to combine English and career counseling. It's fantastic. New area. Dana, teaching very specific things. This BELF, which is a big thing, business English as a lingua franca. So how do our students speak English with each other? And they're all English is the second language for them. And Sue works with our BESIG online team because we run webinars and sometimes symposiums, and she does a lot of that. And English Village Online, I don't know if it's running this year. It's a TESOL initiative where they run an online course for 5 weeks in January, February. So I'm not sure if it's still happening. Could be. Okay. Philip said he started selling advertising, and he then started an online magazine. It's free for English language teachers. And he said, been running for almost 3 years, 50,000 readers. And the other good thing about this is he's looking for writers. So if you would like to get published, have an article published, Philip is somebody to contact. And all the details are at the end of the presentation. Okay. Catherine, who is a author, I think with Macmillan, I'm not sure, or I'm not positive. She writes a lot for primary, but she started training people how to write materials. And she recently has come up with a course on how to do this, and then started teaching science through English. But she has a course on how to write materials. Alex, I can't even keep up with. She is the current vice president of IATEFL. She was president. I met her years ago at IATEFL and thought, wow, this lady is amazing. We've become very good friends. She's very into graphic novels, and I think she's just started a new project in Macedonia, in Skopje. And Vicky, who we unfortunately lost a few years ago, started an ELT video production company. Vicky was a course book writer and decided that teaching through video was a better idea. So these are things you can do. You can try writing, work with colleagues, learn to be an examiner. I became a Cambridge examiner very late in my career, very, very late. It was me and a colleague my age. I think we were in our 50s. And there was a young teacher who said, why are you two doing this? You're so old, which we found interesting. And then we were told how the levels worked, A1, A2, and so on. We had to do a little test, and we both passed and she didn't, because we simply had the experience. So, and it was fascinating for me to learn that. I did it for 5 years. Then I decided, okay, that's enough. Or items writer, learning to translate or interpret, and doing your first conference presentation. That's also a very exciting thing to do. I think my first one was 30 years ago. So, but we still get nervous. Okay. This is a new area here. This is stretching beyond. This is going beyond the classroom. And it is incredible what the ELT community does and is doing. So Dorothy Zemak, who is a coursebook writer, don't know if she's been to Angola. I know she's been to Africa. Major coursebook writer and has her own publishing company. She joined a Renaissance music group and a ukulele group, and she does music as a balance. Daniel Cherry in Malta. He is a professor. He's in charge. He works for the Ministry of Education. He runs conferences. He writes books. He started really scuba diving, underwater scuba diving. I mean, I would be too terrified, but he posts photos and videos of what he sees. He also took up motorcycle riding. I mean, it's just incredible. I don't know how he finds the time for it all, but he does. And he's begun to write about it. Antonia, who was a coursebook writer, she just said she decided to start painting. There are a number of ELT people painting these days, and they post all of their beautiful stuff on Facebook. And I think, I wish I could do this, but I can't. But she's now exhibiting as well. I've seen photos of her exhibits and selling artwork. And Catherine Walter, who was also a president of IATEFL, the first female president, when they changed the name from chairman to president, because she did not want to be a chairman. When she was 65, she began powerlifting, so lifting weights, and turns out that she loves it and holds international records. And she's just an amazing person. Professor emeritus at Oxford, I believe. Okay. Ken, who is also a big coursebook writer, wrote Smart Choice. He did a master's in creative writing. He reported on it, and then he went and wrote a book. There are several. Jeremy Harmer's also written a book. There are quite a few people who have produced novels in the meantime. Okay, so here's some ideas. Take up a sport or a new one. All I started doing is walking, but it's made a big difference. Learn an instrument, join a group, do music. Paint, sculpt, write a short story or novel, or try something completely new like scuba diving, motorcycle riding, or powerlifting. There are things out there. Lots of cooks as well. There's also, I forgot to add it in here, there is a ELT gardeners group, people who grow their own flowers and fruit and vegetables, and they post pictures of them, and they talk about them, and they show what they've cooked with it. A lot of us post about the things we cook. We share recipes. There are so many things out there to get us out of feeling stuck. Okay. So something that helped me was to set up a timeline. And I would really suggest this if you're feeling stuck. Put together what you've done. This only goes up to 2023. But I came to Austria in 81 from New York. These are things I started doing. I started doing teacher training 88. My first conference presentation was 94. Okay, so that is, I can't do the math, 30 years ago, I guess. And then I got published. I wrote an article. I was really excited. First book was 2001. And then I went into working with the Teacher Association. T was the Teachers of English in Austria. Then I got a job at the university. Then I got involved in IATEFL BESIG, joined a PLN and the ELT chat in 2012. And I remember going to my first conference after that, and there were people that I knew from online. I walked into a room, people were waving. I thought, I didn't know anyone, but they were all people that I had contact with, and it made the whole experience different. And I was on the membership committee, did the EVO, Developing Business English Teachers at English Village Online, blogging, plenary talk. Oh, wow, it was 10 years ago. I was IATEFL President and was on an author team, and then became Joint Coordinator of IATEFL BESIG again. But if you put this together, what it does, you look at it and you realize what you've already accomplished. That's the idea of this. Not to make yourself feel uncomfortable, but to say, wow, I really have developed over the years. So you may be less stuck than you think you are. And that's the whole goal. Okay, so what is out there? These are ideas of things you could do. There's a whole lot of possibilities. Supplementary materials, sometimes editing, blogging, writing curriculum, testing. Teacher associations, volunteer for them because we learn things when we do it. We never know how it's going to help us in our real day lives. Teacher training, new technology, we've all had to do it. Discovering ideas, collaborating, setting up your personal learning network. Online conferences are taking on a new challenge. Okay. The ELT chat was a Twitter chat group that unfortunately has stopped for a variety of reasons, but they still have summaries of the talks online. A topic would be chosen, and we would tweet for, I can't remember, half an hour or so with ideas about a topic. And there's a ton of stuff still there if you look it up. So these were some of the topics that we dealt with. And people would just put in their information. So if you're looking for ideas, you can look for it online and see what things people actually suggested. And it was all from practicing teachers, not from a theoretical person who was not in the classroom. We were all in the classroom. Okay. It's a Facebook group, the Map of the Urban Linguistic Landscape. I had a look at this. It's there. If you're looking for something fun, you can have a look at this. You might find something like cook organic, not the planet, and ask your students, what does that mean? Or license to grill, what does that mean? Where does this come from? And get the students to talk about it. So there are signs in different languages, I believe, but there's plenty in English. Okay. This is the EFL magazine I mentioned that you can get published in or subscribe to and read for free. So more ideas. EFL Talks, this is what one of them looked like. Rob put this together of people who had been in it. 10 and 10, right? The webinars, I don't know when the next one is, but I can find out and we can let you know. The No Project was started in Greece. It is against human trafficking. It's a way to help teachers work on this very difficult subject with their students. And there are projects and ideas, and there are lesson plans and film, and a lot of it is done by, you can see, by the students to make people aware of what's going on. It's also about, people working in unfair working conditions and so on. It's a real social, human rights project, and it was started by a teacher in Greece. Okay, British Council still has lots of stuff online that's free. You can go in and look for materials. IATEFL has got things online that are free, so have a look. And if you're an associate, you can join IATEFL for a much cheaper rate. There are special rates for the associates. Yeah. Okay. As I mentioned, Vicky started the idea of videos. We're going to see if we can get this to play. If not, I will send Sarah the link again to the video, and you can watch it in your free time. Let's see if it works. So as she says, we're in the business of teaching meanings. Meanings don't come from words. They come from context, and video is the natural medium. Okay. So this, let's see. Is it working for you? Okay.
Two for you.
Yeah, it is.
Two for me. Two for you. Hi, this is Vicky.
This is Barack Obama.
Barack who?
This is Barack Obama. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Well, I'm doing great, and I know I'm interrupting you, but I figured you might take my call.
Well, we're a bit busy.
How's your mom doing these days?
Mum's fine. Was there something you wanted?
And one of the things I think is terrific is baseball.
Baseball. So you called to talk about baseball.
Well, I am a big baseball fan, and I grew up in Hawaii. My earliest memories of baseball were actually.
Look, I'm sorry, Barack, but we're a bit busy at the moment.
Is that correct?
Yeah, this isn't a good time.
Well, now I understand that.
Try calling next week or next month. We'd love to hear from you then.
Well, I appreciate that. Tell your mom I said hi. You take care of yourself.
You too. Thanks, Barack. Bye. So where were we?
2 for you.
2 for me, 2 for you. 2 for me.
Okay.
Subscribe to our channel to see more of our videos.
And if your organization specializes in English language training, we make videos for that too.
Okay. As I mentioned, we lost Vicky, unfortunately, but her husband Jay is continuing these English videos. They are free. They are on language things. You could, for example, the difference between alone and lonely, or tall and large. There's grammar stuff. This one is a business one on how to deal with phone calls. There's something on greeting visitors, and my students loved them. He started out as, I think, called 1-minute videos. They're fantastic. So the link will be there at the end of the presentation. Okay. So another thing, and I hope this plays, it may not go all the way because it's longer, a TED Talk on trying something new. Let's see how this works. Okay.
A few years ago, I felt like I was stuck in a rut. So I decided to follow in the footsteps of the great American philosopher, Morgan Spurlock, and try something new for 30 days. The idea is actually pretty simple. Think about something you've always wanted to add to your life and try it for the next 30 days. It turns out 30 days is just about the right amount of time to add a new habit or subtract a habit, like watching the news, from your life. There's a few things that I learned while doing these 30-day challenges. The first was, instead of the months flying by forgotten, the time was much more memorable. This was part of a challenge I did to take a picture every day for a month, and I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing that day. I also noticed that as I started to do more and harder 30-day challenges, my self-confidence grew. I went from desk-dwelling computer nerd to the kind of guy who bikes to work for fun. Even last year, I ended up hiking up Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. I would never have been that adventurous before I started my 30-day challenges. I also figured out that if you really want something badly enough, you can do anything for 30 days. Have you ever wanted to write a novel? Every November, tens of thousands of people try to write their own 50,000-word novel from scratch in 30 days.
It stops, I think, because it's, let's see. No, I will send the link when we're done because it's a great video. Okay. Okay. So what I'd like to finish off with is a phrase that I learned in doing NLP training, neuro-linguistic programming. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. So if a child goes up this ladder to the slide and slides down and goes back up the ladder and slides down, it's always the same. But if they walk up in the other direction, they're going to do something different. So sometimes we need just to change a small thing. I'm not muted, am I? No. And we do things in a completely different way. We go for a walk every day, and every now and then we go in the opposite direction because it looks different. You experience it differently when you go the other way. So just try something different from what you normally do. Okay. So reflection, and here I'm hoping I can see the chat. If anyone would like, or you can unmute, it's fine. We have 8 minutes. What are you going to try out? When are you going to do it? And what's the first step you're going to take? So I'm happy to hear from people, or you can put it in the chat, which I now see on the screen. Okay. Okay, so. Okay. So anyone want to say what they're going to try, what they're going to do? Editing and writing, wonderful. Anyone else? Video, yeah. We'll get the link to Vicky's stuff. It's really good because it's made for the classroom. I mean, TED Talks can be great. There are some wonderful ones out there. Do you have to know volunteering for IATEFL or a SIG? Yes. As I said, I teach business people. I was teaching a member of the board, and IATEFL had won the President's Award from TESOL, and I had to give a speech that was going to be recorded. And we had a teleprompter, and the thing stopped working. And I was trying to indicate, move the text, It was so incredibly stressful. I knew it was going to be on a screen. There would be, 4,000 people there. And then I went into my lesson, and my student said, I have to give this speech online to this group of people. I said, oh, I know, I just went through that. And my student said to me, we really like working with you because you understand what we do. So yeah, volunteering is something unpredictable. You never know. I also volunteer for other things. I help people vote from abroad. Okay, being part of the webinar is a new thing. Well, great. Good. And when we volunteer, we learn organizational things. We learn how to structure things. We learn about technology. Okay. Anyone else? TED Talks. Yeah. No, they are really, really great. There's a fascinating one I showed my students about how we fix time zones. America didn't have them, and they only came in when the trains started running, because people would leave the station in one town at noon and arrive someplace else at a completely different time that had nothing to do with the amount of time they were on the train, because everybody had their own time, which made no sense. So they had to come up with the idea of time zones. It was a fascinating one. Okay. A mentoring program. Okay. Great. I'll also contact Sue when we're finished. Anyone else? Okay, just looking at the time. Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Marjorie. I think I've mentioned something there. I said boxing.
Boxing.
Miss Sarah, why are you laughing? Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's anything new that you do gets you out of the place that you're in and can make such, like we started walking during COVID, and I still walk every day at least 4 to 5 kilometers. And it really makes a difference. And you just see things differently. Yeah. Okay, so I have to go back here. Okay, that's my email and my website. And this is the information. These are the photos I used. These are where I took things from, and these are the various websites that you can go to for information. I think they're helpful. There's a lot of stuff out there, and the idea is to try out things. So we have 3 minutes if somebody has questions. I hope it was helpful.
We do have a question from Aweti. I don't know, Ms. Jane, would you like us to have the questions later on, or?
Sorry, Ms. Sarah, come again. Ms. Aweta said, I have a question. What are your preferred methods? What are your preferred methods, and what advice would you give to someone that wants to start English for specific purpose?
It's hard to say if I actually use a method. I mean, I do a lot of communicative teaching. I do use a book that I co-authored, Business Partner. Wow. A lot of it, I do a lot of learner-generated content where I give them a framework and they have to fill in, like, okay, write out what you've done in your career. And they have to fill that in themselves and then talk to each other about it. I'm not giving it to them. So that's a method I like to use a lot. But at the moment, I'm only teaching 2 small groups at the local bank. Anything else?
Yeah, I think there's something quite interesting here from Alitiro, Harriet.
Okay.
She said for her, TED Talks it will be quite interesting because her students are not yet exposed to the tool. And she thought it would be best for speaking, listening, and presentation skills.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe you'd like to say, maybe just a few seconds, just talk more about TED Talks, please.
You have to have a look at what's there and what's appropriate for your students. And most of them are not terribly long. I just watched one on nonverbal communication. The guy talked about nothing, but it was the way he did it that was the interesting thing. So I can't remember. I think it was just called nonverbal communication. So he basically said nothing, but he was so engaging that he got a point across. So how does that work? You make students think about it. The TED Talk that you only saw half of, when you have the link, you can have a look at it, see if it's of interest for your students. You'd have to decide how you use it in your classroom. It's impossible to make a diagnosis of what you should do without knowing your situations. I say just try things out. And if something doesn't work, you do something else. That's what you have to do. Okay. Anything else? Preferred method. I don't have a preferred method. Communicative.
Okay.
And empathy. Caring.
So I think Elizabeth said, sorry, I wanted to take another question if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Elizabeth asked, is there a positive aspect on being stuck on teaching and learning process?
I don't understand the question.
I think the word, is it struck?
Positive aspect on
maybe
being...
struck, she wanted to say. Elizabeth, can you ask your question, please? Elizabeth?
I'm being trucked on teaching and learning. I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Maybe it's stuck. Maybe she meant stuck, perhaps.
Can Elizabeth speak for herself? Elizabeth, are you in there?
Yeah, Elizabeth, can you unmute yourself?
Unmute and just ask.
A positive aspect on being, is supposed to be stuck? I'm not sure.
I think so. I think she meant, is there a positive aspect to being stuck in teaching and learning process?
Well, like I said at the very beginning, you need to awaken curiosity in yourself and love of learning to get out of an area. I mean, being stuck is not positive. If you are doing the same thing over and over and over again and you're not happy and you don't feel your students are learning, that's not helpful. But once you can begin to be curious about things and to search for new ideas, it makes a huge difference. I never used any technology in my classes. That was the only thing my students criticized in the feedback forms. And then I discovered those short videos of Vicky's and I started showing them, and suddenly my evaluations were much better. My students loved them, and they took 2 to 3 minutes in the class. That was it. I just needed to look at them first at home and decide which one to use. And it made all the world of difference. So trying some little thing can make a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Marjorie. There is another question again. Okay. I would like to do masters in English, but my problem is I don't know where to start. Advice, please.
Okay. I'm not at a university. I can't give you, you'd have to look for programs. I don't know what's available, to be honest. IATEFL does a lot of teacher training things, and people involved in IATEFL would probably have ideas, but I don't. Sorry, I don't know where to tell you. If you write to universities, there's a lot going on online. Maybe ask through the British Council. If they have ideas, they might. And when growth demands discomfort, meaningful stretching and burnout. Well, I think burnout, we know. Stretching and burnout for me are not the same. Stretching is going beyond where we feel we have no control. And burnout is also when we have no control. So stretching is something that helps us to combat burnout. Unless you're talking about doing too much, you have to know for yourself. There are times when you say, no, I can't do that because it's too much for me. And we all have to do that. Just looking to see, this lecture that I went to was fascinating. And things like language learners' greatest enemy is boredom. When our students are bored and when we are bored, nothing happens, nothing moves. So we need to go in there with the enthusiasm and the fun. And my group just told me, they said, we really like this, so we've asked for the course to be extended. Okay. I said, I hope you're learning. Oh, yeah, we are. But the first thing they said was, we're enjoying it. And I think a lot of it is because I enjoy it. So one more message. Engaging teaching approach in here. Most overcrowded classes. I'm not in that situation now. I was in the US. I had no resources. I was in a very poor school. I did anything I could to motivate the kids. Whatever I found would work, I did. I brought in parts of history. I was teaching music, that we would connect things involved with the community. Sometimes you just have to, brainstorm ideas and come up with things that are not always done. It's really hard. I walked into a plenary once at 5 p.m. and they were all exhausted. And I made everyone stand up and we did a children's song, Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes. And they were adults and they were fine with it. I play musical chairs with students sometimes. Sometimes we just, have them move around a little bit and do something. Overcrowded classes are hard. Technology, we haven't had any at the bank for the last couple of weeks. It's not working and we don't know why. There's something going on. So they have to read the video scripts from the book, but I can't do anything and it still works. So we all get stuck with limited technology. When I was at university, we used an overhead projector. So if you still have overhead projectors, there's lots you can do with them. I use a flip chart. I used to throw a stuffed animal around in class. I give them stickers when they do well, and they love it. So those are just some of my ideas. And I'm losing my voice, so I think I have to stop. I hope this was helpful. I will get the PDFs to Sara so she can distribute them. And I'll try to send the videos again.
At this point, I would like to encourage all of us to use the emoji on your screen, please. Each person send to Ms. Marjorie 10 hearts, 10 claps, all you can get. Let's get it flowing.
It's very nice. Thank you.
I want to see more on the screen. It should be colorful with all that. Yes. Well done. Well done. That's ANELTA from Angola for you. We'll give you some love from Angola here, all the way from Africa.
Thank you.
More, please.
I'm sure your weather is better than it is here. It's gray and cloudy all day.
Yeah, Ms. Marjorie,
Yes.
it was an absolute presentation. Thank you so very much.
Thank
We've
you.
learned new things. We will definitely make a follow-up. Just some lines of what caught my attention, and I think I will pass on the floor to Ms. Sarah to do what is needful. Get more out of our comfort zone. Let's network. Let's try new things. Let's create our own personal checklists. Let's, at least once in a while, do new things. In my opinion, I said I would try boxing because someone did skydiving and someone did weightlifting as well. So whatever will make us comfortable to be out of our comfort zone is what we should engage. Ms. Marjorie, thank you so very much.
Wonderful.
At this point, can I invite Ms. Sarah? The floor is yours. Thank you. I remain yours, Jane Mulea.
I'm here to thank Ms. Marjorie for the presentation for the ANELTA Women SIG. It's a presentation that obviously helped to foster engagement among the ANELTA Women SIG, and also the non-members, everyone who has joined the presentation. It was so inspiring. It was so informative for all of us at an early stage of our careers in English language teaching, old school and people have some years in teaching. I believe that the presentation was so inspiring, and I hope in the future you can still accept our invitation to present as part of the ANELTA Women SIG and also for ANELTA. So this is our thank you note on behalf of the ANELTA board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I mean, I don't even have more words to say, but only to thank you. We'll be waiting for the link. Then I will send them. I'll make sure I download it soon and have it here in my computer so that I can share it with everyone in our group. Thank you so much, Ms. Marjorie. Thank you so much. We hope to see you next year. Have a lovely holiday. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
See you possibly at IATEFL or at API.
Hopefully next year. I just want to get done with my PhD and then be free for the
I can imagine.
for the conferences and all that. Yeah.
I'll have a lovely evening then.
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, to everyone who's here, if you would like to stay, you can stay for networking. This is the time that we normally have for networking. Please, you can stick around. And thank you all for joining us. And I actually forgot to announce our next webinar will be. I mean, this was our last webinar for this year, and we have ended it with class. It was really great with Ms. Marjorie from IATEFL, a former IATEFL President. It was awesome. And we will be, as we usually have our webinars each month. Next year, obviously, we'll be having our first webinar for 2026, which will be happening on the 3rd of January with Claudia Garcia Videira. And we will, she's from Portugal again, just like Ana Pires. We'll be sharing, just stay tuned on our social media, WhatsApp groups, so that we are surely going to announce the registration form and all the details. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free. This is a moment for networking. Thank you so much for being here.